My name is Muthu Veerappan. I'm a litigator in the state of Michigan. Today we're going to be talking about domestic violence. Well, what is domestic violence in Michigan? Domestic violence is a label that is given to certain crimes when an act is committed against a family or household member. Well, what does family or household member mean? MCL 768.27b defines us as a spouse or former spouse, a roommate or former roommate, an individual with whom the person has or has had a child in common, an individual with whom the person has or had a dating relationship, such as a boyfriend or a girlfriend. Contrary to popular belief, in the state of Michigan, domestic violence does not require the use of violence. An example would be causing mental harm to a family or household member, or placing them in fear of physical or mental harm. So an example of this would be assault or battery. The assault would be raising your fist to someone. The battery would be the contact the fist makes with the other person. These charges generally result in contact with the victim being limited. There are two ways that this can happen. One is a no contact order at the district court level. The other is a personal protection order issued by the local circuit court. In this scenario, it would depend on the victim and the specific charges. In some instances, a PPO may prohibit the possession of firearms. In this way, domestic violence can affect your constitutional right to bear arms. It is very important that you address these issues with an experienced counselor before you go to trial or consider taking a plea deal. You want someone who can address the potential consequences of your specific charges. An example of extra consequences is a charge known as aggravated domestic violence. In this charge, MCL 750.81a tells us that this is a felony charge when the individual charged has one or more previous convictions for domestic violence. There is no time limit on the previous convictions, and this law applies to domestic violence convictions in other states. It is very important that you understand these consequences before you say anything to the police. Once the officers are there, it is no longer a trivial matter. If two parties are arguing and the police arrive, then it's likely that at least one of the spouses are going to jail. The best case scenario is that the police asks one of the spouses to leave the residence to cool off. However, if the officers determine that there is an immediate danger to the other party, they may arrest and charge you with domestic violence. You have to be very careful. A lot of people downplay what happened because oftentimes it's an argument between spouses. However, when the police are called, it turns into an active criminal investigation. Do the following. Ask for a lawyer. Do not answer any questions. You have a right to remain silent. Use it. Either say, "I plead the fifth," or stop speaking. Get some advice before you make any admissions. I was a former prosecutor. I know what a domestic violence charge entails, and I've been defending people who've been charged with domestic violence. I know what the state has to prove and how to defend these types of cases.